Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're doing well and keeping safe on this Friday. A massive weekend ahead for Chelsea this season. A massive game on Sunday at Stamford Bridge against Spurs. I've got my team selector. I've got a preview coming out for that game as well. It's going to be massive, it really is. It's a massive test for Chelsea to see where we are. I think it's a brilliant litmus test. I think it really is for where we've been since that Southampton game, the defensive improvement, the 6-game winning run. Can we continue that on Sunday? But before we go into the previews and thinking about that game, I wanted to react to some recent news surrounding Chelsea, and it's mostly going to focus around centre-back today. Firstly, Thiago Silva, a potential contract extension for him. What an incredible start to the year he's had for the Blues. But also, on the other side to that, Fikayo Tomori, his future, barely getting any playing time so far this season, and potentially a move away in January. So before we get into any of that good stuff today, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also hit the like button if you're enjoying the content, because it helps out the channel as well. So Thiago Silva, there's been reports linking sort of a contract extension. Now, this was originally in the contract when Thiago Silva signed for Chelsea in the summer, the option to extend it by a further year if he impressed, as reported here by Sky Sports. Chelsea poised to extend veteran defender's stay at Stamford Bridge. Thiago Silva's impressive start at Chelsea looks set to convince the club to take up the option to extend the Brazilian stay for a second season. Negotiations ahead of Silva's arrival over the summer saw Chelsea include the option to extend the central defender's 12-month deal by a further year if he impressed. Official discussions with the player are not expected to begin until the new year, but Frank Lampard believes the 36-year-old has been a key part of Chelsea's impressive start to the season and is keen to keep him at Stamford Bridge for a second campaign. I don't think this is overly surprising. I think most of us expected that the most time Thiago Silva would be at Chelsea was 2 years. I do wonder if the motivation for Silva, apart from sort of club football, is international football as well, you know, featuring for Brazil, captaining them at the next World Cup. I think that's a big motivating factor for all players, especially for him at his age. You know, that'd probably be his last major tournament. I think it was one of the most surprising deals of the summer, given how quickly it sort of came about and Chelsea getting that deal done. And I did say at the time, despite it not being a long-term option or solution to our problem, in the short term, in the level of player, the pedigree of player we have in Thiago Silva, I did think it could turn out to be a really wise move, given his quality, given his leadership, given what we lacked last season in defence, and really helping to improve the other centre-backs within the squad. And it's turned out to be that and much more, really. Thiago Silva has been absolutely class. He really has. I know he had that, shaky moment against West Brom. And I think most of us, when that happened, you did fear all the fears we had over the summer about his pace, about his age, coming into a very intense league. But since then, he's absolutely been quality and everything we hoped he would be. Being a leader, being just a world-class centre-back. I mean, it's a tired debate we have about, the best players in the league, right? And it's all subjective. But I think that in terms of Virgil van Dijk being injured for the season, is there a better centre-back just in terms of quality in the Premier League other than Thiago Silva at the moment? I don't think there's many, to be honest. And that's the quality of centre-back Chelsea have. Many people over the summer outside of Chelsea, and even some Chelsea fans, were criticising our lack of investment in defence given the problems of last season. But Chelsea have invested heavily in our defence. Maybe not in terms of fee, but Ben Chilwell, Thiago Silva and Edouard Mendy. And Thiago Silva, it's a very cliched thing for a Chelsea fan to say, but it feels like we have sort of JT 13 to sort of 2015 back in that defence. We've lacked a leader there, and Thiago Silva is offering that and much more. It was such a shrewd signing, and you can see the quality of the player, the organisation, the way other players within that defence speak about Thiago Silva. Ben Chilwell sort of saying how much Thiago Silva has helped him already this season at Chelsea. Organisation, telling him where to be, when to maybe tuck in a little bit, when to go wide, when to press up a bit more. That is the leader and pedigree we have within our defence, and the way he settled so quickly into a new club, I think just shows the character we have as well. I really hope if he does stay for another year, he can maintain these levels, because they are so high at the moment. It's improving the game of Kurt Zouma next to him. Those two have discovered a lovely partnership, and I really hope on Sunday against Spurs, when they're tested heavily, they can step up to the plate and prove themselves once again, because it does look like the perfect partnership for Chelsea at the moment, and it has massively improved our defensive structure this year. It's great news. I'm pretty sure that will happen pretty swiftly. It seems like Thiago Silva is enjoying his stay at Chelsea. The one thing I will say in relation to a centre-back back. We've seen this over the years. And, JT, I think, was very smart. And I think Thiago Silva's the same in terms of his game. And even when he loses some mobility, being able to have the mind, still the very sharp mind to stay in the right place. I don't think players of sort of Silva and Terry's ilk lose that over their career. But I just wonder, the deterioration of a player at that age, it can happen very quickly and almost seemingly overnight. So despite him having a really strong start to the season, that could change over the winter period. So I think we have to be wary of that. And also Frank Lampard managing Thiago Silva well over difficult periods where he has to rotate the team quite well. But I think he's done that already this season, and I think you'll see that continue over the Christmas period and for the rest of the year. But this is great news. Please let me know your opinions on Thiago Silva in the comments below. Next is, as I said, sort of the other side to this, and this is Fikayo Tomori. Where is Fikayo? Barely getting any playing time so far for Frank Lampard this season. Had that option to leave for West Ham right on deadline day, but decided to stay. There was some feeling at the start of the year, I think it was after the Andreas Christensen red card against Liverpool, Tomori coming in, and I did think, is this going to be another twist of fate where Fikayo Tomori makes his name once again and becomes a first team player? But Thiago Silva very much changed that. As I just said, Thiago Silva and Kurt Zouma found that chemistry, found that partnership, and Frank Lampard hasn't changed things. I think the big problem for Tomori is Antonio Rudiger is now getting chances as sort of that third choice centre-back, which we did not expect back in the summer when it seemed pretty certain he was going to leave Chelsea. This article here from Liam Toomey in The Athletic, Tomori out, Rudiger in, the latest on Chelsea centre-back situation, goes in detail, so I definitely suggest you go and read it. The January transfer window can't come soon enough for Fikayo Tomori. Sources have told The Athletic that of the 5 centre-backs in Chelsea's squad, he is the one most likely to leave, and it could be on loan. At this point, I think he needs a loan pretty desperately. He really does now. He's not third choice. He's not playing when Thiago Silva isn't. That's falling to Antonio Rudiger. You can't really have a go at Antonio Rudiger at the moment. The 2 games he's played so far this season, he's kept 2 clean sheets. That's going to impress Frank Lampard. Apparently, Rudiger in and around Cobham has stayed quite positive. He's a great sort of motivational figure. Hasn't really been affected too much by being out of the first team pretty regularly this season. And I think that's obviously impressed Frank Lampard, sort of being a senior player as well. But for Tomori's development, he needs game time. I think there'll be many clubs willing to take Fikayo Tomori, which is good. I think to other players Chelsea are trying to ship out, like say Kepa, I don't think it'll be similar for Tomori. As we saw in the summer, there were so many links throughout the summer linking Tomori away for a loan, but it never materialized. And I think now Tomori will have to get this loan, because if he doesn't, he's likely going to be sat on the bench for most of his season. And given his age, he needs to play football. Now, there's been so much speculation about Tomori and what's happened with Frank Lampard. Many people have speculated that something has happened between the two, and that's why Tomori has been out of sort of the first team. In the first half of 1920, Tomori almost became undroppable. He was a key player for Frank Lampard and very much following on from his time with him at Derby the previous season, and it felt like Tomori is going to be a mainstay of this defence and was impressing so consistently for Chelsea. But then I think Tomori got injured, and I've spoken about this before. I think Rudiger's return to fitness definitely changed the dynamic of that centre-back sort of situation for Chelsea and for Lampard, and Lampard consistently switched it up back there. And I think Tomori got injured around the Christmas period, didn't he? And I think he returned for the Bournemouth game, and he really struggled that day like most of Chelsea's defence did last season, and then got re-injured again. I think just before Project Restart, wasn't it? He got injured again and then couldn't play basically for the rest of the season. There were some times I felt that Lampard could have brought him back into the team, but really Frank Lampard, as we were getting into the final weeks of the season, bringing in a player returning from injury was always going to be a difficult decision to make, and it was always going to be a risk bringing in a player sort of lacking match sharpness and fitness in key games for Chelsea as we were trying to look to qualify for the Champions League. It's a strange one for Tomori. He's clearly got quality, and I hope for his sake he gets that loan move in January, can go somewhere, can impress. He's still very young, still got a big career ahead of him. You just wonder, and as I've seen with links so far this season and recently, Chelsea looking to sign a world-class sort of young centre-back in the summer, and whether that's Jimenez, whether that's other players as well. Upamecano from RB Leipzig, I'm sure, has been linked as well. Many centre-backs, Chelsea looking to invest in that area. Also looking beyond Thiago Silva, which I think is very smart. But that's concerning for Fikayo Tomori as well. I look at Ethan Ampadu, who could potentially in his career return to Chelsea and play in that position. Kurt Zouma, still a relatively young player in terms of centre-back, given how far Thiago Silva is playing into sort of being 36 now. You wonder if Kurt Zouma will look at that and think, I could play till I'm 36, basically. So Kurt Zouma will now look to really nail down his place in Chelsea's defence. I always look at sort of Andreas Christensen as one player I'm always stunned that isn't linked away from Chelsea more. But in terms of career, in terms of where they are, Tomori needs football pretty desperately, and I think he needs to get that loan move, whether West Ham come calling again, but they've had a pretty strong start to the year. If he can go to a decent Premier League side, I think it will be a Premier League side, and I think it has to be a Premier League side, given where he is in his career, based on Derby to Chelsea, playing some Champions League football. Even there were links to some League 1 sides in the summer as well, sort of Champions League level sides that I think could be good for his development, but he needs to start playing football. I just wonder, in the long term, you always think timing is so key for young players breaking into his first team, and if Frank Lampard starts to nail down what his best 11 is, which we're starting to see this season, that's going to be problematic for fringe players. But as I say with Fikayo Tomori, I think he's still got a big future ahead of him. If he goes away, gets good football, he could return in the summer and then impress and maybe break into the team once again. Let me know your opinions on this strange Tomori situation. Do you think he'll get that loan move in January, and what do you think about his career so far at Chelsea and also in the future? Let me know in the comments below. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonofChelsea. Have a great day, and I'll see you again